Yep. Let's see. Okay, does this work? Are we live? Is this here? Hello? Hello? Let's see. One way to find out. Come on. Turn on, you bastard. Okay. Oh, wow. Looks like we are here. Okay. So first thing I want to start this stream off with this evening is an alert to a video I did that appears to be hiding. Yes, it does not appear to be obviously available. So, one sec. I really should have cleaned up my tabs before I started. So this video over here is an honest conversation with Daniel Smullen on Apple, hashing, and privacy. We went over a lot of the issues involved in this recent piece of news on Apple comparing perceptive hashes of photos on your device with those of known CP. And as is typically the case with stuff I do that I think is important or matters, it got the 0.5% viewership number right over there. I think it may be because I said words that I probably should have said the you-know-what rather than saying what it was. But yeah, so you may find this interesting, so do check it out. And Daniel is a real expert in his field, and he's well researched, and he gives some good answers there. You know, Chris Chan, I don't follow that stuff at all. I have zero care. Great interview today. Thank you, JP. Now I just have to figure out how to get more people to know it exists. Why late? Because, Adab, because. Oh, you're copying and pasting. Now I'm disappointed. Okay, let's see. Hello from Chicago. Hello. MB is Frenchie said losers? Don't call people losers. That's not very nice. Let's see. Why don't you do another Vacant City tour? I like those videos. I've gone over much of Midtown. I think I've made my point with Midtown and the East Village. There are still people that say I'm bullshitting them, but like at this point I don't really think that there's any... I don't know what it is I would have to show at that point. Somebody suggested that I do the area that I live in, that I walk through that, but that would be kind of mean because I live in a low-income area. And it's been becoming more gentrified since I moved here, so perhaps I'm showing my own ignorance and calling it I shouldn't say ignorant. I haven't necessarily accepted that it has gentrified as much as it has because I still remember what it was like when I moved here. But it's difficult for... Yeah, I don't want to walk around here just because it would be kind of a douchey thing to do. Like when you're walking around a neighborhood where you have all of these top-tier real estate companies claiming this is prime, amazing real estate, nobody wants it, you're kind of like you're punching up. You're pointing out that Newmark, Knight Frank, and CBRE and all these others are full of shit, and that's fun. But like to point out in an impoverished neighborhood that there's empty stuff, I think that's being a cunt, and that's my take on it. Because there's no real, well, they say it's amazing and it's not kind of thing. You've been live streaming a lot. Keep up the fight from Australia, where they'll replace but not repair. I think, there's quite a bit of progress being made with Australian right to repair. You can ask Jim Hook in the Discord that we have, that I forgot to link to because I'm a schmuck. But you can find the Discord link in the board repair videos, and Jim Hook has been keeping really good track of that stuff. When Dota? Oh, not for a while, I suck. Interview ? Yes, interview. Glad to see you in the Majority Report. Indeed, I had so much salt from the mad Steven Crowder fans that I changed the title of that video. I don't care. I watched it. I thought that someone said that when Sam Cedar showed up in front of Steven Crowder that's what anxiety sounds like, and I kind of agreed. It was one of those things where if Charlie Brown said he wanted to debate me, and then Charlie Brown shows up, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a layup. And then Charlie Brown shows up, and then Tim Cook is sitting next to him, and then the camera pans to Tim Cook. I ain't running away. oh, I'm gonna I'll steamroll Charlie Brown or I'll steamroll Tim Cook. Like, and even if I'm not gonna steamroll Tim Cook, I mean, like, if I'm willing to go up against you, I'll go up against you. Now, if someone shows up and says what we want to do is we want to debate right to repair, and then they show up and they say we want to debate modern monetary theory or some shit like that, then okay, fine, I'm fucking leaving. We agreed to this set of topics. You're doing a totally other topic. That's bullshit. Like, if you want to debate who's better, the Mets or the Yankees, and I showed up for right to repair debate, that's BS. But if it's the same topic, just someone else who may be able to give better answers, I thought running away was a pussy thing to do. But that's just me. What do you think the end results will be with Apple with their attempt to further invade privacy? Well, what it came to at the end of this video that I did with Daniel Smullen is I really do I somewhat disagree with his shirt, which is privacy isn't dead. I think that it's one of those things where I think that it really is kind of too far, because like they make the point, well, this is being done server side right now. Now we're just doing it client side. But most of the stuff that most of the messages you send back and forth often happen to be on, these are server side messages. It seems like a lot of it is too late. Do you think Democrats are losing Hispanic voters to the culture war? I have no idea, man. I honestly don't do voter outreach to particular demographics. That's not my thing. That's probably one of those questions for the Sam Cedars or Steven Crowders. That's not my thing. So I don't really know. What I do know is that if Republicans had half a brain, what they would do is they would reach out to all of these black people that are, again, 70% of the unvaccinated. I think it's like 30-70 in New York for black people or minorities being vaccinated. They would reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, we are not for segregation for Broadway shows, for gyms, for restaurants, for bars. Just so you know, like for all the other crap they say about us, we are not actually pushing segregation via vaccination passport. But they don't have they don't have that, so they're not going to do that. What is Mr. Clinton's favorite snack? It's a greenie by far. It's a greenie. I think it's a greenie. That's going to be a shit show. That's going to be a shit show. Oh man, that is going to be crazy. My banker watches these videos from time to time. I had a conversation with my banker, who is not my skin color. I asked what they thought of it, and in her words, she said, fuck that. So it's one of those things where, again, not me saying it. That's going to be interesting. That's not a culture war, because a culture war is when you pick out these, these random ass bullshit things and you make more of it than it should be and blah, blah, blah. This is actual policy. So it's not even losing a culture war thing. Do you think this new Chris Chan scenario set back trans acceptance in the U.S.? I don't watch this shit, man. I don't pay attention to it. Like, I don't. I'm sorry. I know this is probably disappointing as hell. I don't follow this stuff. Like, let's see. I have to Google this to figure out what this is. Chris Chan interrupts court proceedings over, I don't know what this is. Internet personality Chris Chan in court on incest charge. Chris Chan arrest, history of YouTube genre about Sonichu creator. What the fuck is Sonichu?
Bob the Lumberjack.
I don't know what any of this is, Erica. I don't know what this shit is. I don't know. Ted Hodges funded $4.99. Thank you. Louis, would you say that when you started buying donor boards, you'd spend $5,000 more in parts in a month in the beginning? Not for board repair. Board repair, the parts were cheap. What made board repair expensive was the time investment. I would definitely spend a lot of money on screens. I would spend 50 to 60 to 80,000 in screens in a single order, but I was not spending that much on the boards in the beginning. And what it really cost in the beginning were the tools. Let's say a microscope, $1,000. A microscope camera, $700. A new machine, that stuff costs. By gyms, do you mean 71 or 72? Oh, I know it ain't 72 anymore. I know it ain't 72. I'll leave it at that. I got proof in one of my videos. It's down to at least 71. Why no more board repair? I have 600 board repair videos. So even when you look at the people that actually do this, that still do this full time on YouTube, they still have less videos than what I had up 2 years ago. If you want board repair videos, what you can do is you can watch my playlist. I guarantee you haven't watched all 600. I know you haven't watched all 600. So I would suggest going and watching them. I don't do them because I do not do a good job of them anymore. I will not do as good a job as the people who work here. And I will not do as good a job as I would have done 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years ago. There's a degrading effect to it. Some people, let's see. Rudy Giuliani has a Cameo account. I saw you comment that in many places, but I don't particularly care. How fast miles per hour can you get in your electric bike? Louis Rossmann for mayor. No, that's a shitty job. No, I don't want that. That's horrible. That's as horrible as the 666 that you posted. The most I've ever gotten on a straight road where there's nobody there, in some random off-pitch place where I don't have to worry about traffic or traffic lights or people, I got was 48 miles an hour. I never tried to go faster than that. Will New Yorkers stand against the vaccine mandate tyranny, or New York bend over and take it? I don't know. We're going to see. Do you listen to Vivid Fever Dreams on Spotify? He's really okay. I've never heard of that, but I will write it down and check it out. Vivid Fever Dreams. All right. Don't spam my chat. I time you out. Okay. Why'd you delete the unauthorized license video? I didn't. It's right there. You can see it right on my channel. It's right there. I get asked that like 10, 20 times a day now. But literally the video is right there. Oh, let's see. Watch, I'll show you. I'll show you. It's right here. It's right here. So check out this. See this? That's the video. It's right here. Anybody can watch it. How are you good at your job? I was good at my job. Shut up. Love the New York City reality checks you've been posting. Also enjoyed the Cedar interview. He let you speak. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, there's so much shit in the comments of that video. There's so much shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure I probably disagree with him on things. I'm sure that I'm likely less forgiving of more COVID restrictions than, let's say, he may be. I may disagree with him on other things, but he asked me reasonable questions and he let me speak. Like, we had a 26-minute conversation. He didn't shove words down my mouth. He didn't, like, edit the shit out to make it sound like I was saying stuff that I wasn't. He let me speak. I mean, that's really all I can ask. I've been interviewed by media outlets and pundits before for papers where they don't let you speak. They don't let you get a word in. And then once they actually publish their article, you have to call them and say, hey, man, like, I noticed what you wrote. That's not what I said. And I really didn't have to worry about that with Sam. So, I mean, whatever salt all of you guys have with Sam Cedar, I don't have with Sam Cedar. Exactly why we need you in, huh? Let's see. The government will surely backdoor this technology and use it to spy. Prove me wrong. That's the thing. I can't prove you wrong, Anthony Goodley. I mean, I can't prove you wrong because I would need to be inside the government to know that, or I'd need to fast forward to the future where they do it. I definitely share your skepticism when it comes to that technology. And one of the sad things I saw was in this video that I did with Dr. Smullen here, there were people that were calling him a shill. There were people saying that Daniel Smullen was, he's wrong, that this is bad for privacy. But if you actually listen to the video, he talks about the Fourth Amendment, and he specifically says, and I quote, that's not how we do things in America, with reference to just going to everybody's house and checking if you're on a list of available criminals. And that he agrees with the fact that this is a bad step forward for privacy. And that, I think it would be important if people actually listen to the entire video. He does give the technical description as to why this is not necessarily exactly as bad as what people think it is, or why it is not. It's not as bad as people think it is because of the reason they think it's bad, but he does agree with you. Has Clinton proved black cats don't cause bad luck? We'll see about that. I don't know. Did I not move to a much larger, more expensive location right before the world economy got kicked in the dick? I don't know. Mr. Clinton's favorite snack would be the greenie. Why didn't you sell Mr. Clinton's schematic or dye t-shirts at your repair shop? For a very long time, they didn't sell. And, for a very long time, they didn't sell. And I will buy more of them immediately. I will definitely buy more of them. That's on my to-do list. Do not Google Chris Chan. Yeah, fuck. It's too late for that. I can't. It's really disgusting of you to bring up the specter of segregation to defend anti-vaccine views. Vaccine requirements have been a thing in society for decades, and pretending otherwise is bullshit. It's really disgusting of you to say that I'm defending an anti-vaccination viewpoint. As I've said, I am vaccinated. I think people should get vaccinated. I think the results are in and very, very clear that most of the people getting hospitalized for this are the unvaccinated. What I'm saying is that the forced mandates that have been used and just the way the government has been communicating for the past year is encouraging more skepticism. When you say, okay, fine, we're just going to force you to do it, you're getting people into that lizard brain mode where they just want to resist you even more, and that there are different approaches that probably should be taken other than this. And yeah, I mean, like it's not untrue. I mean, the statistics are clear. They're clear as day. You can see what the outcome of this will be. Okay, because here's the thing that I've learned over the past several years. So it is not necessarily the policy itself that needs to be written in a way where it's discriminatory. Rather, it is the disparate impact of that policy that says whether or not it is discriminatory. This policy would clearly have, very clear as day, a discriminatory impact. And yes, I will bring that up. And yes, I will also say that there is no way in hell that I'm going to put my employees in the position of having to enforce a policy that is going to wind up being discriminatory in how it is applied, based on the numbers as they exist. Like, no, that's a fucking clusterfuck, and I think that's a bad idea. Do you think this is the time to start a new small business, not in New York, or hold off a few years? Hold off until the real estate market crashes. Hold off. And yeah, like again, I would say it's disgusting of you to just disregard the numbers as they are. Like who is going to want to, again, I don't think a lot of bars and restaurant owners are going to want to say no to large swaths of the population that just so happen to fit one demographic. That sucks. That's bad. That is very fucking bad. And having the barista or the bartender be the one enforcing that, again, if you want to do that at your bar, whatever, but like, I wouldn't. What kind of management challenges have arisen at Rossmann Repair Group since you started spending more time working on Right to Repair? Honestly, less than I anticipated, because I put a lot of time and effort in last year to fixing a lot of these issues around June and then around August and September. So August and September of last year, we put in a lot of work and effort, and also some in mid-2019. So when the time for this came, I honestly didn't have to do much. A lot of it was documenting everything. There was a lot of documenting that had to be done on how to deal with just about every single different type of situation. And, big part of what makes it easy is that the people who work here, for the most part, are not idiots. They're not stupid people. So that makes things very easy. I don't like Fanta, says Erica. I'll leave it at that. Are you planning on flying to Right to Repair bill legislative sessions? I'm honestly planning on doing a lot of work before those things happen. I wrote my first real committed lobbyist check a few days ago, and I have a lot more to write, and I'm quite excited to get started on that work. What do you think about the Excelsior app? I have not downloaded it. I have a card in my wallet, and if that doesn't work, then any thoughts on crypto and the infrastructure bill? I haven't really followed the infrastructure bill much. Thoughts on crypto is the same thing that I've said every stream. I think in many ways it is a consensual Ponzi scheme. When it comes to the Excelsior app, again, I have that little card in my wallet that I got from Walgreens, and if it comes to the point where I can't enter a place because I have that instead of some sort of fancy Excelsior app, then I'll probably just order Grubhub or stay at home or something, or make my own food. I don't feel like doing that. I really don't feel like doing that. All the next person has to do is speak faster than Sam did. If for sure it could have been half the time, but for the cause, I'll watch any length video. I don't understand that. All the next person has to do is speak faster than Sam did? I don't understand. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know what that means. Thoughts on Chicago versus New York City? I've never been to Chicago. I've driven through Chicago, and the experience driving through Chicago, it's kind of like a lot of the people driving in Chicago are like spirit animals with the people that drive in New York. It was very interesting. Asking people's status of vaccination or not is a clear violation of HIPAA. What have you looked into on that? I don't know. I mean, honestly, a lot of stuff in healthcare is anytime the word HIPAA gets mentioned, when it comes to an IT project, it quadruples the budget. It makes everything a complete and utter nightmare. And Jessa would talk to me about so many different things when it comes to HIPAA, how you weren't able to do research and you couldn't do all these different types of things just because you were respecting the privacy of somebody who was literally dead. Like, there's a lot. I think that, again, I'm not an expert in the area, but HIPAA seems like a pain in the ass that makes things go too far. Those infected have the same or better immunity than those with vaccination. Fed took over an intrabank lending weight. It's very bad for free market. You haven't really had a free market with government control of currency for a very long time at this point. But those infected don't appear to have the same or better immunity than those with the vaccine, because it seems like a lot of the people that are ending up in the hospitals are people that are unvaccinated. That's one of the reasons I got it. I mean, like, the number of people ending up with an adverse effect from the vaccine seem to be hundreds of times less than people that are actually dying of COVID. Why do you make your old live stream on October 4th, 2016 private? Why? That's 5 years ago. You expect me to remember that? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. $1 is not going to buy me enough Reminal to answer that question. Greetings from Czech Republic. Love your content. Good luck with your fight. And here is a small donation to real channel owner Mr. Clinton. You know, 3 years ago, someone dared me to rename the channel to Blackberry the Kitten. So I changed the avatar photo to a picture of Blackberry the Kitten, and I changed the name of it to Blackberry the Kitten. I lost about 10,000 subscribers in a day, but it was totally worth it. It was hysterical. Are you vaccinated or will you be? Yes, as I mentioned in my prior videos, and as I also mentioned in my my early May video, I am vaccinated. And Reading Weapons of Math Destruction from 2016 is good material on why we should be wary of any AI-based algorithm learning. Not the AI's fault either. 1 second, I'm just going to add this to my list. I have never read that. One of the ways, if you're just kind of curious as to what it would be like in the future when your boss or your manager is an AI, is to just make YouTube content. What's really interesting is how what the algorithm promotes and what the rules and community guidelines are in direct conflict with one another. It's just absolutely hysterical. And Eli the Computer Guy talks about this all the time. And wow! The moment I said Eli the Computer Guy's name came up on the screen. Okay, that was fucking funky. That is weird. It says, crypto is stupid and the best investment you can make is the power and having faith of what you're doing and in yourself. That's something that I wish somebody had told me a long time ago. I would have made a lot less stupid decisions. So I kind of agree with Eli there. Like, the best investment you can make is the power of having faith in what you're doing and in yourself. Yes, all of the bad investments I've made and bad things that were speculative or poor quality or just bad investments were when I didn't believe in myself and I thought I need to make as much as I can right now because I definitely can't rely on me to make money into the future. And it's caused me to make stupid decisions. I agree with Eli there. Have you ever dined in one of those outdoor dining shacks in New York City? I have. How about the double-decker one? Okay, no, I'm not that brave, man. I wish you saw guys' comments about the CWC post so I could have responded. I don't know what CWC is. Don't use acronyms if they're not common. Sharing with you a commitment of thoughtfulness and intellectual honesty. It's hard to stave off nihilism. How do you stay hopeful? I stay hopeful because when I take people aside off of the internet and off of screaming and off of everything else, that at the end of the day, even if someone disagrees with me or horribly disagrees with me or says something where I think that their intention, their mind is in the wrong place for a solution, they seem to want the best for the world. They just have a different interpretation of what is going to be best for the world. And knowing that at the end of the day, even people that I intensely disagree with have good intentions allows me to believe that the world is not completely screwed. And it staves off nihilism. Hello from Singapore. Hello. It definitely makes me somewhat nihilistic. It definitely can make me nihilistic when I see the way people talk to each other and treat each other on the internet. But when you can take someone aside in person and have a basic conversation with them, and you realize that their intentions are not horrible, it kind of helps. They always use protecting children to take more of our rights. Well, I mean, it works. I like your shirt. This shirt was about $5. This is the cheapest piece of shit polo shirt. It's got like wrinkles here. This side's cuff is actually a different size than this side's cuff over here. But it was $5. And it doesn't have any logos on it. You notice that? See that? See that? No logo. I ain't advertising someone else. Fuck out of here. Delta is very real, and dangerous COVID restrictions should not remotely be an issue. I don't know what you mean by dangerous COVID restrictions should not remotely be an issue. I think if you tell people that they're not... Greetings from Germany, where the government can install a Trojan on mobile phones and computers. What's your opinion about it? I don't know anything about that, so if I were to comment on it, I would be very, very misinformed. German government install Trojan smartphone. I don't know. Maybe if they did that, at least they'd be honest about it more than the U.S. New German laws would allow the government to infect all citizens with state Trojans. The German government is preparing to pass laws that would permit authorities to use state Trojans to hack people's devices, even when they aren't suspected of a crime. Oh, joy. Okay, well, I would have to do a lot of research into this to see if this is an accurate depiction of the law or bullshit fear-mongering. I don't really know how much I can trust this because it's just a random site that popped up on Google. But if that were the case, that's some bullshit, man. I'm tired of hearing about how Europe's got it together more than America, if that is the case. And something just popped up on screen that didn't last longer than a second, so I missed it. Fuck. I clicked the like button solely for the thumbnail. Thank you. Yeah, what would I miss? What did I miss? Fuck. Now I'm getting off the treadmill here. What are your thoughts on rights repair with vehicles? We see with more electric vehicles, I think it would be more difficult. Electric vehicles are not more difficult to fix because of the technology. Electric vehicles are more difficult to fix because we're entering a new paradigm whereby we've accepted that vehicles are less fixable, and we just kind of let them get away with it. Like, why can't you buy drivetrain components? Why can't you buy the motor control? Why can't you buy a lot of the things that you need to be able to do your job? It's not because electric vehicle technology is inherently more difficult to repair. It's because the companies make it more difficult, and that's going to be going into the future with everybody. I want to get into board level repair. Any tips? Watch as many of these videos as possible, and the biggest tip I could give you is if you're having issues with a project, shelf it and do something else for a week and then come back to it. Don't say, I need to figure this out right now. I need to figure this out right now. I need to figure this out right now. Because the cortisol that builds up in your brain will stop you, and the anxiety and the pressure will stop you. So you put some time in, do a little Google, ask a question, come back to it a week later, come back to it a month later, come back to it a year later. You can move on to a different project. Buy the project cheaply, and then put it on a shelf. And then you can come back to that shelf later. Jessa has come back to phones 5 years later when she's more knowledgeable and fixed it, and it's a good feeling. But you have to put it on the shelf. I think that Elon Musk has created a cult of personality whereby there are people that will pretty much accept anything he says hook, line, and sinker. It's very similar to what Trump did, in which is he accomplished something, or he said something that made sense that nobody else was saying. And then a lot of people kind of identify with him because he said something that nobody else was saying that made sense. And now he feels like there's a connection that nobody else, but then he says something that's kind of, and then the media crucifies him for it. I don't know what that means. The media crucifies him for it. So then they feel defensive of him. But then he actually says something that's really fucking stupid. And now they're kind of invested in him because of what happened before. So they wind up defending everything he says. And honestly, some of the craziest things I've gotten in my comments, some of the craziest, I've had people like when I show here is a piece of build quality in a Tesla car. What are your thoughts? It's your fault. You're being dishonest. And I go, what? No, this is an actual picture of something I bought. What are you talking about? And they go, no, that was the ends of the quarter push. You need to understand that the cars are going to be shittier for the ends of the quarter push. Why wouldn't you mention that? Because it's not my fucking problem when you made this piece of shit. You're selling it. I don't know. There's an entire cult of personality around him that I can't fuck with. If a vaccine booster is required every 6 months going forward, would you line up each time? Or would you expect all of your customers to do the same? Well, with my customers, again, I'm not trying to dictate what people that walk into my store do. I would prefer that they be vaccinated, but I'm not going to fucking mandate it because that's just... again, my preference versus a mandate is it's just not the way to do it. If it requires, now this really depends on a number of things. So with is soldering the big skill for board repair? Yes, and you cannot pronounce it with an L. If you pronounce it with an L, you're fucking it up. Dave Jones taught me that. All right. I'm kidding. Dave just didn't. The thing that it would depend on the mortality rate of it. Of the virus. Now, if the new variants and all these new variants are way more deadly, then sure. If these new variants are less deadly, then no. That to answer that question properly, I would need to be able to predict the future and be an epidemiologist. And I'm not an epidemiologist, but I definitely can't predict the future. So I can't really answer that. Thank you for saving my laptop. Incredibly streamlined service. Oh, thank you for sending us something that we could fix. That's appreciated nowadays. Your video just saved me $400, fixing a backlight, and gave me new confidence in repairing. Thank you. Potarov, that's what I like to hear. I apologize for butchering your name, but thank you. I live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I can tell you that the seated community during COVID last year didn't abide by mask mandates and kept schools open. Should New Yorkers follow in their footsteps with new lockdowns? I think that a year and a half in, you either got it or you didn't. Like, we're beyond the point where I believe that like you can just do new and new and new. Like, if there's like an outbreak of 20 or 30 people in a city of 8 million and you do a lockdown, that's one thing. Like, this has been around the world, around the country. Like, so many people have gotten this at this point. I don't see where lockdowns do it. I live in Bed-Stuy, and I did a video where there was I included this in a video last year. Thank you, iMicroboard Repairs, where I was going by with my bike, and you could see that there was a funeral. There were a bunch of people in the street. They were all standing shoulder to shoulder, no social distancing, no masks. And yeah, like during a pandemic, like shoulder to shoulder with no masks in the beginning of it, no vaccine, no nothing. You know, again, that's not really a great decision making there, in my opinion. But yeah, you did see a lot of that, and I think I included in a video last year. Actually, no, I did. Do you realize the right to repair things you do in the U.S. are actually changing the world? Much love from Brazil. Keep up the good fight. Well, I hope so. And that's one of the really beautiful things about YouTube is that, you know, an idiot like me can just put up a video talking about something that matters to him, and someone in Brazil could see it, and it can get from there. It's one of the amazing things about this it's one of the amazing things about this platform. When is the next workshop? I have to figure that out because I'm making plans to show up at a conference in Vegas. By the way, anybody who wants to say hi, I'm going to be in Las Vegas on, I think, August 17th and 18th at this place. I was actually supposed to make a shout out for this like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't because I'm a piece of shit. But yeah, this is theprepaidexpo.com. I will be here, and I will be one of the keynote speakers, and I think I'm going to have a booth or a room or something like that. But yeah, if anybody wants to come to this thing, I'm going to be here next week. So I got to make travel plans, and because I'm making travel plans and some other things, I didn't set up a workshop yet, but we'll be doing more soon. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? How would it improve your life? My superpower would be an ability to manage anxiety. Did you read the Facebook post from Mike Rowe? Very well written. I have not. I don't follow people on Facebook for the most part. Workshops across the U.S. start in Columbus, Ohio. This is Julie Myers. If you're in Columbus, Ohio, email me and I'll actually try to set something up. Louis@rossmanngroup.com. Send me an email, Julie. I will see if there's something that we could do to start making this happen. What kind of management? I answered that one. Shit. I'm behind by 16 minutes now. Are you kidding? So it's people who are asking you to get vaccinated rather than the Tucker Carlsons and Trumps of the world. That is absurd. The people who mislead these people are at fault. If you think that people in Brooklyn and Queens, in the Bronx, that have not been vaccinated are watching Tucker Carlson and voting for Trump, I just think that that's really disingenuous. One of the things that is real... Thank you very much, Kayvon. I appreciate that. I don't know why I've been sub for this long. Here's one of the things. If you're talking about someone that lives in, I don't know, Jacksonville or Alabama or... like I don't know, Franklin, Tennessee or something. Okay, fine, I could see that. But if you're talking about people that live in like Bed-Stuy, Jamaica, Queens, South Bronx, like really? You think they're watching Tucker Carlson and voting for Trump? Like, that's just not true. That's fundamentally not true. And it shows that you're not engaging with people from these communities. Louis, we need to have some sort of repair police. Aren't you getting tired of unqualified text raping customer devices and breaking more things and fixing? What are your thoughts? I agree. And I agree. I think that there is a lot of shitty people in the independent repair business, the same way there's a lot of shitty people in the certified repair business. And I really just do kind of hope that they get wiped out of business by chargebacks and bad reviews. And when you get something, oh, fuck no, I don't hate myself that much, Found Home. I don't hate myself that much. I just do videos on YouTube and look at the amount of people that like mischaracterize shit that I say. Can you imagine if I was a politician? I'd be the most hated man in America. Fuck that. I don't want to be the most hated man in America. I really don't I don't typically care if people like me, but I don't want to take a job where I'm going to go out of my way to make millions and millions of people have an incentive structure to put words in my mouth so they could hate me because they perceive that I'm going against their views. No way in hell. When you see something that's horrible, ask the customer for the history of the device and then show them it. Say, see this over here? What do you think of this? Okay, now where's the last place you brought it to? Was that the only place you brought it to? Okay, so looks like they did this. And have an open dialogue with them. I agree with what you say and disagree with some as well, but I have to salute you for your stance and having opinions and not trying to crucify people for not thinking like you think they should. Again, at the end of the day, I believe that the people that I disagree with have good intentions. I at least try to assume that even if you disagree with me, but we're both trying to go to the same place. We wouldn't be trying to take a different road to get there. And America Uncovered covered the hilarity of Gov being some people don't trust the vac. Let's try to demonize and force, and that'll fix it. Yeah, the comment that really got me in an older video that I did was when someone said, Louis, if you were the person telling me to do this, I probably would just trust you and do it. The way that you explain things, I would trust you. I wouldn't trust these people. And that made me so fucking sad because I should have no credibility. I should, like, when it comes to like epidemiology, like, why the fuck would you trust a laptop repair person telling you to get or not to get a vaccine? Why? Why? I'd be like, I do one wire circuit repair, but like the fact that, bro, I don't know about Chris Chan. I don't know what that is. I don't follow the corner of the internet that you're following. If that's news for you, I do read the news. It's just that is not the fucking news that I read. I'm sorry. I feel bad, but I mentioned that earlier. I think there are ways to engage people where you can engage with them, you could understand their concerns, you could listen to them, and then say, okay, yeah, listen, honestly, what you're saying there, okay, that's kind of, I could get that. Here's where I'm coming from. What do you think? Versus you're anti this, you're horrible, you want to kill grandma. Like that, it puts people in a lizard brain mentality where they actually don't want to get it. And I don't think you'd be the most hated man if you ran for public office. That's how it goes to Trump. Now he'll fade eventually. We have this thing in America where we always rehabilitate older Republican presidents so that we could shit on new Republican presidents. Remember when they started doing that with Bush? Like all this crap about him being a war criminal, and then when Trump got in office, it's like, remember the good old days when we had Bush in office and they were cordial? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? War criminal. Anyway, I find pre-built e-bikes too expensive. I want to build my own e-bike. What website would you recommend? Oh, ebikes.ca. Go to Grin. These dudes know what they're talking about. They're good people at this place, and they're really helpful. ebikes.ca. Sometimes things are going to cost a little bit more money through them than they will elsewhere. I still buy from them. I don't get discounts. I don't get paid by them. I just like companies that don't take me for a ride and rip me off, that will answer my stupid fucking questions. But what I'm saying is can I get a love Cuomo? I'm not sticking my hand up your blouse. I'm not Cuomo. How about this? I actually want people to get vaccinated. That's why when I see these mandates, piss me off, because they're going about it in a way that's going to get people more stuck into their lizard brain mentality. Like again, if I disagree with you, hi Joyce. If I disagree with you and I say, okay, listen, I hear where you're coming from. Okay, you think this makes sense. I understand why you think this, but here's where I'm coming from. Versus if I say, you're a fucking idiot, do as I say. Which one makes you more likely to listen to me? Which one? Like which approach? I want them to use an approach that is actually likely to get people to listen. And I understand why a lot of people are not listening. And that's what pisses me off. It's because I am not anti-vaccine, that I hate the way they talk about it, that I hate the way that they're coming up with the mandates, that I hate the demeanor within which all this entire conversation has taken place over the past 17 to 18 months. Because it's just pushing people. It's pushing people to be more anti. I was on the fence back in May, and when you got the vaccine, I felt better about going to get it. Vax now. See? Did I force him? Did I tell him he's a piece of shit human being if he doesn't get it? No. Anyway. Bear, Delaware waits as always. Boring suburbia, just 2 hours and some change away. There's one particular block. I actually visited that specific block in Bear, Delaware twice when I needed to unwind. I had, in my advocacy work over the past 5 months, there was one particular mistake that I made that I'll probably write in my autobiography like 20 years from now, once it's funny and no longer something that I'm completely embarrassed about. But I went there to actually think up a plan for 1 or 2 hours and just look up in the clear blue sky. I trusted to be more informed, less misinformed than the majority of authoritative politicians. I'm probably not, but when I'm not informed, what I could tell you is that I'll be honest with you about it. Okay, every message from 12:08 in YouTube chat, from 12:08 to 12:20 is gone, unfortunately, because you can't scroll. It doesn't work that way. I can't scroll and find it. So I missed everything from 12:08 to 12:20. Kenyon Miller funded $1. Thank you. Until the 70s, owners of vehicles had to know how to maintain a vehicle. The farther you go back, the more maintenance needed. Adjustments, lubrication. Modern cars basically only require oil changes. It needs a little bit more than that, I think. They're more reliable, but it needs a little bit more. Harder to fix, but there is, I think, more reliability in, let's say, a car that you buy in 2021 versus a car in 1960. We have this thing. We here in America have a weird case of forgetting what happened as little as 2 years ago when it comes to politics. Yeah. New York City hasn't recovered despite what people say. I appreciate you being honest and direct in your videos. Yeah, and I would say, do you really even want it to recover to where it was in 2019? When I did my real estate video series in 2019, all of these places that I was showing you were insanely overpriced, empty, looked like shitholes, and several of them had been empty for 5 to 10 years. That's not healthy. It wasn't healthy in 2019. It was just crowded. Now when it's less crowded, you can kind of see how unhealthy it was all along. Are there 2 Christmas trees in your background? Is that an American thing? No, that's a my house thing. The Christmas tree doesn't come down. And if you try to take my Christmas tree down, nope, it's not happening. Not happening. Louis, please don't travel now. Whoa, that was supposed to say F-U-C-C Cuomo. Can I get a fuck Cuomo? You get a fuck Cuomo. Actually, you know what you get? You get 2 fuck Cuomo. You'd probably like that sick fuck. That's going to get this video taken down. Hello, Thunderjumper. Hello. Vaccine is the solution to the pandemic. Don't you want to get it over? The answer is here. I agree. I really do. It's, again, we agree here. We agree. The thing is, there is a method to get people to want to get this. And then there is a method that is going to harden them into the anti-vaccine opinions and thoughts that they have. And what I'm saying is, take the approach that doesn't harden people into the opposing viewpoint. If you're having an argument with someone over the color of the sky, and you say, listen, well, here's how it compares to this shade, what do you think? Versus, you're a fucking idiot. You could get someone to not agree that the sky is blue if you come at them that way. There's a lizard brain mentality that comes along that hardens people into their pre-existing viewpoints. Google, etc. already scans server-side. Nothing stops at the scans. I'm skeptical, but at least Apple has attempted to do this in a more secure way. I think it just still freaks you out because, like, again, they're doing it server-side. But once they say they're doing it client-side, even if they say they're only doing it with stuff that's being uploaded to the cloud, it still just sends a chill down my spine. And like, you can say that it's irrational, that it shouldn't send a chill down my spine. And I went over that in the video that I did with Daniel Smullen, where I interviewed somebody who actually does have half a fucking brain on here, and unlike me. And again, at the end of the day, it's honestly sent a chill at both of our spines. It may not be rational, but it's just still, it's too encroaching. People trust you over experts because you're down to earth and obviously not being bought off, nor do you surround yourself with shady politicians. Maybe, but I'm not that good a person. I'm not much better off than the politicians that you all hate. I'm probably not a better person than the politicians that you all hate. Hyperhorse is getting triggered. Oh man, I remember when on one of your first live streams that someone asked you to take your shirt off, and someone said go on PH and become a mod. Go on PH? What is PH? I'd vote for you in a heartbeat. Nah, I'm not going to be a bad politician. What would you say the split of your business is between walk-in online? It got to a point of being around like probably like 68, 32 at one point, but now it's starting to head closer back to the 60-40 zone with about 60% mail and 40% walk-in. I honestly got to check and see what July was. I haven't looked at the July figures yet. That definitely does have to come back for the place that I'm in to be worth the amount of money that it is. Carrot versus stick for vaccination. Really would like to see more vaccinations, but it is a conversation just to encourage understanding and enjoy cause. Yeah, and I think when they have that $100 incentive, that's definitely going to get people that are not vaccine skeptical, but just people that thought, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm not wasting time going to Walgreens for this shit. It's definitely going to get them, but it's not going to get the people that actually have real legitimate concerns. They're not going to be answered by the $100, and the strategy that exists for them actually really isn't a strategy at all, which is my issue with it. Louis, get in contact with Viva Frey. I did. They are booked up until mid-late October, but I have emailed them, and I would love to be on their show. What do you think about how the USA went from not caring how you die to requiring you get vaccines to do anything? Well, that's not the United States of America that did that. That's specific areas of the United States of America. So you're talking as if it's a monolith, when in reality it's 50 states that at almost any given point in time are at each other's throats, similar to your mother-in-law, your uncle, and your wife at Thanksgiving dinner. It's not the U.S. doing that, because you would have to assume that Florida and Texas, California, New Jersey, and New York are all doing the same thing, and that's not the case. Do you think people's political beliefs are a reflection of their childhood, specifically experience with the family? Yes, mine certainly are. There's like 2 or 3 guiding principles that I've noticed are behind that are behind my temperament, and then my temperament is behind my political beliefs. I think that temperament sets people's political beliefs more than a specific set of facts or experiences. I think people have a specific. I don't think that people are looking at facts back and forth. I think people's temperament causes people to see the world through a specific lens, and then the lens that you see the world through winds up influencing the political opinions you have. And I need to figure out how to talk faster. Well, you ever have your girlfriend on streams? Does she know border pair? She does not know border pair. She was on a couple. I did have her do one border pair stream, but she almost lit her hair on fire and pointed the heat gun at the battery. Is there any truth to the rumor that Andrew Cuomo did that to a girl in the 1990? I have no idea, man. I was a year and a half old in 1990. Hello from mainland America. Can you shout out to Tobias Maguire, my favorite Spider-Man? Shout out to Spider-Man, I suppose. Don't look up Chris Chan. Oh, God. I am 10 minutes behind. Shit. You always wear jeans at home. I like my jeans. I like jeans. Hyper horse. I should have no credibility. Louis Rossmann 2021. Yeah, someone's going to fucking clip that. We need more people of AOC's age representing the U.S. and less Steve King and Nancy Pelosi. Even if I disagree with people in politics, I would... Yeah, like less of the people that have been doing it for 40 years if they have not been... If they haven't been doing a particularly great job. Let's go back to the public office question. We need your common sense, honesty, and skill as a speaker. I don't really have that much skill as a speaker. I don't think I'm a skilled speaker, and I particularly don't think I'd do well running for public office. Yeah, I think at this point in time, you need to pander to people who have specific belief systems, and you need to reinforce those belief systems to them in order for them to feel like they have a good understanding of how the world works, to not feel stressed and anxious about someone telling them the world works differently than the way that they'd like it to work. And to do that, I don't want to do that. When I speak to my neighbors, they're horrified at my political viewpoints. But then if I go to Nebraska or Tennessee, they're horrified at my political viewpoints too. Am I a liberal or conservative? I honestly don't even know anymore. But I don't feel like subscribing to a specific set of beliefs. He is mentally slow incel who writes Sonic Pikachu fanfic. She is recently back in the news for declaring themselves female and then I have no idea why people are asking me about this situation. I'm not touching that with a rusty spoon. At least Apple is thinking of the kids, Mr. Prez, F off, bootlicker. At least Apple is thinking of the kids, Mr. Prez? I don't get it. If the side effects are extremely rare with vaccines, why can't manufacturers deal with their legal liability? There was actually a good article I read about this in the 70s and 80s. The whole idea was vaccines don't make these companies son of a bitch. What is your favorite Alan Parsons project? Mine is iRobot. Mine, let's see. Shit, I gotta find whichever one is standing on higher ground on it. I forget the name of that, and when I look it up, I'm gonna miss a bunch of other shit. Which one is the one that is standing on higher ground on it? Way above it all. Way above it all. Gaudy, that's the one. Yeah, Gaudy. I like Gaudy. I'm not supposed to like that one. That's not supposed to... And it has too late on it. That's not supposed to be the Alan Parsons you like, but that's the one I like. Why do you stop your security cam business or service? And we want more Dota streams. Because nobody wanted to fucking pay for it. Everybody wanted me to buy a $50 Costco set and install it for $80, and Why bang my head against the wall with something that isn't working? So I started that at the same time that the board repair business was just absolutely taking off into the stratosphere. It just made no sense to bang my head against the wall with something that nobody ever wanted to pay for. You still want to reach a positive end goal, as you said, regardless of your faults. I'm not convinced the average politician has the same goal in mind. I think they do. I just think maybe they get disillusioned or disenfranchised by how difficult it is to get anything done. Oh, yeah, so there was this one article I was reading on how vaccines don't have the highest profit margin. So if it's not a high profit margin, but you're going to get sued into oblivion, or there's the potential to be sued into oblivion, it doesn't really make sense to do. It's kind of like why, like when I stopped doing iPhone repair in 2015. Like when iPhone screens were 20 or 30 bucks, cool. When iPhone screens were 70 to 90 bucks and my customers want it done for 80, no, I'm just done. And then there's the liability of, this thing worked before you touch it. I just decided to stop doing it. Do you think Tim Cook's obsession with vertical integration as former CEO accelerated Apple's anti-repair stance? Do you have more of a positive view of Jobs? I wasn't really around much for the Jobs era, but I mean, like a lot of this wasn't different. I think that I could have sat down with Steve Jobs. I think he would have engaged in a way that Tim Cook wouldn't. Who is my Dota 2 main? Typically Razer, but I suck. I think I could have been able to sit down with Steve Jobs and have an honest conversation about how right to repair would be good for their brand and how they would be able to separate themselves from every other company in existence in a way that you just. I think he would have gotten it because people use these products for filming in other countries and doing all sorts of cool shit where you need it to work right effing now and no other company is doing this. You could be the right to repair company, but he died. I think I could have changed Steve Jobs. I really do. But there's no changing Tim Cook. Speaking of policy, we shows the Lemon Party at lemonparty.org. Oh, get the F out of here. Screw you. I know exactly what is on that website. I spent time in IRC chat rooms when I was 13. Screw you. Screw you and the horse you rode in on. I know what's going to show up if I go to that fucking website. Thank you, B. Mason. Okay. So the vaccine liability thing. So I was reading this article and it was talking about how there's a lot of... what was the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of potential for BS and frivolous lawsuits, but there's not a lot of money. So they came up with this the specialized court, and there was a tax on the vaccines that was supposed to cover it, so that the vaccine providers would be incentivized to continue offering them. Because by the 80s, I think for certain vaccines that were very important, there was only one company left that was willing to supply them, and they didn't want it to be zero. How does Andrew Cuomo stay in office for so long? He has a D next to his name. And you can't have an R next to your name, and that's not going to work very well. I think that has a lot to do with it. He intimidated a lot of people, and all the intimidation that he did of these people happened during a time where we didn't have these social media tools that we do now to be able to speak out and up against bullies. And I think people are just sick and fucking tired and done with bullies like that piece of fucking shit. Larry Sharpe said it. He said it in 2018 that he thinks he's a dictator. He thinks he's a king, and we need to unseat him. But he got 1.6% of the vote. Why did you unlist the 2017 Right to Repair original live stream? I don't know what live stream you're specifically talking about. There's a Nebraska live stream from 2017. Are you talking about a Nebraska one or a Tennessee one? Again, this is something that's best covered over email because I don't know which live stream you're talking about, and I don't have any time to look it up because there's already another thing on the screen. Have you ever considered there might be any negative side effects or negative downstream consequences to the right to repair? If so, what have you thought about? I've thought about the negative downstream consequences to the right to repair would be if the language is written in a way that it burdens a company that does not have a schematic, that does not have a board view to actually create it for people who are creating designs out of their head. And that's why I don't want the bills to be written in a way where that could be the interpretation of it. So, love the late night streams. Have a good night. The other way that it could be written, which could be bad downstream, is if it was written in a manner where it didn't limit it to documentation that's only necessary for the repair. Rather, it allowed a backdoor for documentation that would be necessary to actually be able to print or create the device. Every single piece of information, rather than just the basic bare minimum necessary for depot repair. And that's also something that's been taken into consideration with the current laws. But again, if there is something in there that would create a slippery slope argument, I want to hear it. But we don't hear it. We hear that magtrometers and microwaves are going to explode. No, don't. Listen, it's a good question. Just email it to me. Tell me the video you're talking about so I could look it up, because Louis@rossmanngroup.com. I actually do read that stuff, but it's just not something that I can answer here because it's not specific enough. But if you're specific, I'll try to find it and link it to it. Like, I want to engage with people on the other side. I don't get to. Can I come work for you? That depends on whether walk-in business comes back. I'm not exactly hiring new people right now, but I appreciate it. Thank you. You are welcome to come to one of the free workshops if you have something that you want to bring in and just mess around with and fix. We are going to be having those again, most likely when I come back from Vegas after the prepaid wireless expo. What was I talking about? I would love. Oh yeah, I would love to engage with people who actually have genuine, real concerns about this, but I don't hear what they are. They'll say intellectual property concerns. What are they? Safety concerns. What are they? Tell me what they are, so that I can at least take them into consideration and put it into the text of the bill. But we never hear that. Mario, by far. I never get to hear what the actual concerns are. I only get to hear the fear-mongering bullshit. Inflation is a tax on the middle class. I agree, Mr. Boston. But it works because it's a tax that you don't see immediately. It's something that is kind of out there in the ether. It's not something that's easily blamed on one individual or one policy. What's your favorite repair? Also, hi. Removing the JTAG connector on an A20-3437 board when nothing else is corroded beside the JTAG connector. It is so satisfying, so smooth, and so beautiful. Just tearing that fucking JTAG connector off in A20-3437. Just beautiful. Bill Gates is all about reducing the population with vaccines. Oh, this aggravates me when I hear this. So, like, people will say, okay, he wanted the population to be reduced. The Nebraska original live stream. I'm fairly certain that is not unlisted. I'm 99% sure that's not unlisted. But send me an email so I'm reminded. The whole idea there is that many of people that may be having 10 kids or 12 kids or 16 kids may be likely to only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 if there is a chance that their kids actually make it to their teenage years or make it to 3 years old. It's not about we hate people, we want to reduce the population. Rather, is if more people are going to... Son of a... Tori Amos Baker. Tori Amos Baker. I love Tori Amos. She's amazing. I am such a fangirl for Tori Amos. My God, I love Tori Amos. Anyway, the Little Earthquakes, that album helped me through a lot of bad times in my life. When the vaccine shit. They say, oh look, he wants to reduce the pop. No, it's not. It's that when people actually manage to live longer, they just so happen to wind up having less kids, and that's a good thing. You should want kids to live, make it past the age of 2 or 4, or 8 or 10, and that's great. And, to say that, they want the population to be lowered, like, to take that saying, which is we want kids to be able to live longer through vaccines, and that just so happens to result in people having less kids, and to take that and to twist that into they want to inject you with this to kill you with it is so disingenuous and so disgusting. I abhor that. JP, it sounds like you are spending less time on the PBX stuff. There's a 3-digit number that I need help with that you know about, JP, so I actually have to check on you for that later. It seems private companies and federal agencies are starting to mandate the vaccine for new hires. Also have the Cards de Blasio's pulling a vaccine cards of business. I do not want to get the vaccine or I'm screwed. I mean, it depends on who you want to work for and where you are. Like, again, if you want to work for New York State and you live in New York State, then yes, you're kind of screwed. If you want to start your own business and you live in, I don't know, Pensacola or Jacksonville, Florida, then you're probably not screwed. It really depends on where you are and what position you are in the world. Again, I would advise that you just look into getting vaccinated. Not going to tell you what to do, but again, I got it. Not the end of the world for me. You'll see me here in 2 or 5 years. I ain't going to be dead. Not going to be sterile. Don't make me impregnate someone to prove wrong that bullshit meme about the vaccine making you sterile. Like, don't make me have a kid before I want to, just to prove you wrong with that. I actually thought my playback speed was ×2 and went to change. Also, can we Facebook friends or sub buddies? I honestly don't use Facebook for anything. I appreciate that Louis brings out the crazies on both sides of the political spectrum. It's helpful for us to understand nuance, to understand what the insane people think. I don't know. I try to talk. Let's see. It's the trail emergency approved with no liability. See, the thing is that the liability shield is what gets to a lot of people. And like the liability shield is what gets a lot of people. Like, focus on communicating the why and the how and all that shit behind that, and I don't know, working on changing it, work on addressing that in the beginning. That would have probably helped a lot more than a mandate. Why, you want me to say Mario instead of Mario? Mario. Mobile fix, I'll talk to you about that in Discord later. I don't want to keep covering that on stream because it's going to come off as petty if I do it publicly. Ask Chris B in Discord along with some of the other moderators what they think, and they'll probably tell you my thoughts. Hello, Bailey. You can't come work for me because I don't have jobs available yet, but I will be doing more free workshops once I make the time. My worry with the vaccine is the heart conditions it's causing in some people, especially because I already have a heart condition. From what I've been reading, and again, I'm not a fucking epidemiologist, so talk to your doctor about this stuff. For fuck's sake, don't listen to a MacBook repairman on it. The numbers on that seem really, 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 really low. Like when they show you this number of adverse effects, firstly, a lot of people don't get the VAERS system. Virtually anybody can report to that. And you can report to it even if it's unsubstantiated, even if it's, you could report to that and have another condition. You can have cancer and report to that system. And if you don't look at the data properly, it can show up as like a vaccine death or adverse effect when it's something else. But the important thing, don't just look at the numerator. Look at the denominator. The denominator will tell you a lot when you see those types of issues coming up as to whether or not it's something to care about. Porio is best kitten. Mr. Clinton is best kitten. I'll have to disagree with you there. Were you in Manhattan when 9/11 happened? No, I was in Staten Island in IS 24. I was in IS 24 in gym class. What was New York City like for that after a while? Did you get motivated to enlist in the military? I was 13 years old. I think I was actually 12. Was I 12 or 13 back then? I gotta think. I think I was 12 years old. Yeah, I was 12, man. I wasn't enlisting in the military. I could barely shoot my water gun back then. I had a super soaker. It definitely changed. It kind of got people to... It's really weird because Bush, who was the president, came by to talk, and this is and nobody cared. Like, nobody cared in terms of... Well, let me rephrase that. There wasn't this hate across the country. Like, there wasn't this red state, blue state, red president, blue president bullshit. Like, for that really short period of time, nobody gave a fuck what other people's political or philosophical ideas or livelihoods were like. We just cared about each other for a really tiny period of time, and that fucking ended very, very quickly. Maybe if you make good headway on right to repair, do you think you could toss those realistic repair police in your spiel? I don't know about repair police, man. Listen, the people who are going to do that are people in this industry. You can't do that. You're not going to repair police by legislation. Everything exists within the Department of Consumer Affairs to be able to shut down businesses that do a bad job. Chargebacks exist. Department of Consumer Affairs exists. That stuff exists. It just got to get used, and it requires that we educate consumers when they get screwed over. I honestly believe if right to repair passes, you get a lot more people who are good at what they do, and that you're going to get a lot more people who are good at what they do pushing out the bad people, because this will be an industry that actually makes sense to work in. Right now, it doesn't. What's your take on the infrastructure deal having a last-minute addendum around cryptocurrency regulation? Why can't bills be about one topic without sneaking shit in? I don't have a take on the infrastructure bill, but I agree that the way our politics works, where you can have, okay, we're talking about legislating LED lights, and I'm talking about the taste of oranges, and somehow this shit can come together and this can hold up that, is really lame. And I think that our politics are designed for gridlock to prevent bad shit from being pushed through. I don't think I'm that honest and decent, but I appreciate it. But don't assume that I'm honest and don't assume that I'm decent. I want you to have a healthy skepticism for everybody that you meet on the internet, especially me. What will you do when New York City tries to fine or shut you down for refusing to check customers' vaccine cards? Well, right now, that law only applies, I believe, to bars, restaurants, gyms, and maybe Broadway. But I most certainly believe it will eventually apply to me, because the way the rules have been flip-floppy in this city, and once that comes, then I'll have to look at the people here and say, listen, I tried. Fort Lauderdale is that way. Nashville is that way. Who wants a free first or second month of rent for the apartment that you're moving to there? It'll be cheaper. I forget what I was talking about before then. I was on I was on something and then I was off it. I was hitting the spot on a rant, but I forgot it. Okay. I'm a 24-year-old moving to New York City in September from California. If you have one big piece of advice for me, what would it be? Thanks for the videos and stream. When people act the way they do here, don't let it change who you are as a human being. Don't let it turn you cold. Don't let it make you less of a nice human being. Remember what people are like where you're from. I grew up in Staten Island, went to IS-24, 7376 then. I was in class 7 SP4, then Tottenville High School last 20 years LES. Yeah, fuck IS-24. Did you go there when Mr. Gilberto and Mr. Spisto was there? Oh, they were some shit principals. Fuck Mr. Gilberto and Mr. Spisto. Let's see. What is in your gym playlist? The Final Fantasy X Seymour Battle, covered by Husky by the Geek on YouTube. That's a dude with some really good music. Husky by the Geek. Do you consider yourself a centrist? Also, only the bad people think they are good. I don't think I'm a centrist. Thanks for years of education on this platform, and for efforts and commentary on consumer protections. My friends and I are fans. Thank you, Steve. Hopefully I actually get something done. One state's got a lobbying plan, ahead of a committee that wants to push through a bill. Next up, I like Tori Amos. You're a good guy, Bobby Vincent, I can tell. It's impossible to like Tori Amos and be a bad person. Do you think Meet Kevin or Larry Elder is best to reform California? Larry Elder. Larry Elder. He's been at this longer. I don't know if Meet Kevin is just doing it for a meme value, but Larry Elder's not doing it just for meme value. I can't tell with Meet Kevin. But I mean, he's not going to win. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. The stuff you forgot was BS legislation last minute. Yeah, I think that the U.S. system is designed for gridlock to ensure that they would rather less progress than something bad get through that actually was a really bad idea because people were swept up in the spirit of the moment. So I think the United States system is designed for gridlock to ensure that things don't devolve into a shithole or a shit show. One could argue we have a shit show now, but you never know. Could always get worse. Love your stuff. You're the good fight. I'm from Australia. Visited San Francisco and stayed in Tenderloin. Never seen such a dump in my life. Are you seeing more drug addicts and homeless after COVID in New York? Yes, there's most certainly more of that, but that is not. That is definitely an issue, but that's not the primary issue. For me, obviously, I mean, I'm biased, but I show you what I think one of the biggest issues is, which is that most small businesses can't afford to be here. They employ people that would then make the money that would allow them to not be homeless, and all of the places to do that out of are $20,000 to $100,000 a month because of realtors that have lost their mind in a commercial mortgage-backed securities market. Will you have Michael Carvin back on the channel? I'd love to have him back on. I should reach out. So you know what? Gonna add that back to the list. Michael Carvin, back on. I could see David Cozier does not have an argument. So since he does not have an argument, he posts an emoji. Okay, next. My 2010 MacBook is going strong. Did you replace your C9560 with a non-tantalum? You'd better. You'd better. Johannes Kadane. Yeah, I can't defend any of that shit. Did a tour for IS-24 and passed a class from every student was throwing pencils at a teacher. Yeah, it sounds like IS-24. The teachers there suck balls. Like listen, I can't. If the teachers were even half as bad when I was going there as they were when you were going there, I completely understand why they were throwing pencils at them. Yeah, that was a horror show. That entire place just needs to be fucking bulldozed. Start from scratch. I've heard anti-vaxxers mention arguments against the trustworthiness of vaccine manufacturers, referencing Pfizer's billion-dollar settlements. What do you think about this? Yeah, like I'm not about to defend Pfizer. Like I'm not anti-vaccine, but I'm also not, gonna be a Pfizer cheerleader either. Can we meet so we can talk about how, with your help, popularity, we can open more 911 gadget stores? Look me up on YouTube so you can get to know me more. I don't know what YouTube is, but you can email Louis@rossmanngroup.com. That is the first test. So the first test is, can you figure out how to spell my name right? Louis@rossmanngroup.com. Send me an email. I'm a Trump supporter. I hope the left knows we are natural allies and right to repair. Please don't believe what you hear about Trump supporters. We just hate to see Americans middle class ripped off for decades. I don't believe that everybody that supported or voted for Trump is a horrible person. I think we may disagree on certain aspects, and I think we definitely disagree on certain elements of Trump's cult of personality around him. There's probably several areas we disagree, but I don't write off all people who voted for him as people who have bad intentions. We simply we may have different ideas in how to reach the same goal of prosperity for all Americans. I thought Rights for Repair was recently passed by the FTC. Maybe I misunderstood. Enlighten me. No, they wrote a paper that called everything that the manufacturers was doing bullshit. And then Biden said in his executive order, FTC, go make rules. That executive order Biden did, that's not right to repair. What that is that's a wish list. That's, hey, we would like if the FTC would write rules. Again, that's a great start. I'm happy with it, but no, we ain't done. That's like me deciding, okay, it's January 1st. I am going to make a New Year's resolution that I'm going to jog every day. Like, it doesn't mean I lost the 20 pounds. I made the New Year's resolution. Now you actually have to do the work. Again, don't get me wrong. That is a start, but it's not it. The content you produce is highly appreciated. You are humble. Enjoy your night. Thank you, Karen. I don't understand the need to vaccinate more. Just vaccinate the people that want to get vaccinated and open up. If thousands of people die, it was their choice. They chose to take the risk. Well, the idea is that the people who don't get vaccinated will wind up becoming incubators for new variants, and the new variants will be variants that our vaccines don't work against, and then the vaccine that I took won't do jack shit for me because the virus was that incubated inside you, the unvaccinated person, turned into some super evil, way stronger, and I don't know, like instead of being Delta, it'll be like Delta Pro or Delta XP or I don't know. A stronger Delta that will then kill me. I think that's the idea. And that's why it would make sense to have more people get vaccinated. But that's, again, like... Eric Gaines has gone down the rabbit hole. Down the rabbit hole. I can't go down that rabbit hole. The foolishness of not vaccinated to herd immunity is that the virus continues to mutate until, if remains, a persistent threat to the old. You will get old, so being short-sighted is a problem. I agree with you there. I saw you in a Veritasium video talking about right to repair. Was I? You'll have a place in history. Good job. Can you email that to me, Louis@rossmanngroup.com? Email that to me, because I don't know I was actually mentioned in a Veritasium video. Trump is the worst president, lied every day. He lied about a bunch of small details. I think the thing is that he said certain things that rang true to people, and some of the things that he said, he may have gotten like some of the broad strokes right to people who were affected by those issues, but I will agree that on minor shit, like there was this constant making shit up all the time. And I don't respect that. But the thing is, it fucking worked. Like, I mean, can you blame him for doing it if it worked? Like coronavirus me. That would not be effective. I don't like my $3,000 Mac 2018. I have an issue where it eats 1700 CPU and is idle. However, I need it to work. Am I part of the problem? You're not a part of... What is the problem? Do you mean, are you breaking your computer, or am I part of the problem by using an Apple product when I don't like it? You're not a part of the problem unless you buy another one. You're allowed to buy one of something and then say, okay, you know what? I tried it. It didn't work great. I'm not buying it again. If you buy something and you don't like it and then you buy it again, then I would say so. But not if you buy it once. Lick Cuomo's balls. That's what I have to say to you. Rebel, it is saying a word that I believe is a dog whistle for lobbyist bribery that was stated by a CTA lobbyist a year and a half ago in Olympia, Washington, that was on this channel. Look up Marco Ria's lobbyist answer on this YouTube channel. Donald Trump and his supporters are horrible people. Again, some, sure. Many, maybe. All, you really, again, maybe I'm too willing to reach across the aisle and speak to people and try to understand what they really think, but I don't buy that. I don't buy that the world is that specific a binary. I don't. There's a lot of shitty-ass people out there, but I take them one at a time before just casting out all people as shit because they disagree with me on something. Question is for Clinton or BlackBerry. Are bodega cats essentially workers? They are not essential workers. Yes, they are. And they don't get paid enough. So say Trump got a second term. Do you think, guys, you would have pushed the eviction moratorium? He's a landlord. That's how he makes money. The eviction moratorium, to my knowledge, was not commercial. It was residential. And when it comes to residential properties, and please do correct me where I'm wrong here because I'm not a political expert, he doesn't seem to be a low-end residential landlord. It seems insanely high-end to the point where that's just not affecting him. Far right and far left are equally detrimental and divisive to civil society. Short-sightedness in policymaking is that no one expects things to come back at them. Ari, cancel, culture, lawmaking, etc. I think Final Fantasy X is the last Final Fantasy I enjoyed. Husky by the Geek, Final Fantasy X, Seymour Battle. Go listen to it right now. That's your homework. Have you ever used a Wagner paint gun for solder work? I promise I'm not recommending it. Yes, it was either 2017 or 18, but my hot air station stopped working, and I used a Wagner heat gun, and I did it on live stream, and I fixed the board, and it worked. I never want to do that again, but I did it, and it worked. But I'm never doing it again. Yeah, I'm going to link it right now. This guy has a really amazingly talented channel, and he deserves a link. So everybody who's watching this video should go listen to this, and everybody who's watching this video should consider subscribing to this guy's channel because his covers are fucking amazing. what he does is he does covers of all this different type of video game music, but he never loses the feel of the original. He never loses the actual feel of the original, even if it's using different instrumentation, different tempo. It always has the exact same feel as the original, just 10 times better. It's a really, really amazing talent that he has. And the fact that he has less than 2 million subscribers is a true shame. He's at 62,700 subscribers. This dude should have at least 2 or 4 million. He's fucking talented as hell. Just listen through his library. Listen to all his stuff, not even the Final Fantasy stuff. It's absolutely amazing. I wish I had like a 1/100th of the talent that gentleman has. If you willingly get the clot juice, your brain doesn't work. If you can't look at the statistics of blood clots from vaccines, then I would say your brain doesn't work. So I would throw it right back at you. I'm just going to keep taking the money when someone sends that, but I ain't reading that out loud. I have no problem taking your $5, but I ain't reading that. I met Tori Amos once by accident in a bookstore. I am incredibly jealous of you. I'm almost probably glad I haven't met Tori Amos because I get really uncomfortable when people fanboy me in person, and I'd probably fangirl her in person. I did go see her in concert once, but I never went to go backstage afterwards because I didn't want to be one of those creepy people that's like, oh my God, you're Tori Amos. But I would definitely fangirl for Tori Amos. She's amazing. Little Earthquakes got me through the hardest point of my life. Thank you, Matthew Lang. Have you talked to Steve later or exchanged ideas? I have. I find it interesting for all this discussion on COVID and moving to Florida, you don't bring up that the state is having its worst weeks with regards to infection. Yes, because they have a lower death rate per capita than New York, even keeping that in mind. These vaccines do not produce sterilizing immunity, so mutation will likely happen, vaccine or not. I'm not anti-vax. I had 2 doses since March. Well, there's one way to find out. I think with the amount of... But this is the thing. This is what my banker said. Because my banker said, I can't believe you said something about Florida to look at all the stuff in the news. So what I did is I looked up the number of people in the state. I looked up the amount of people that died of COVID. And then I did the math. And then I did the same for New York. And I said, which one of these numbers do you think is New York and which one do you think is Florida? Exactly. They're bullshitting you. I understand that all Trump voters are bad guys, but what I don't understand is how they can put their faith and support into our POS. I'm not going to disagree with you that he's a piece of shit. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Yeah, I think it's because he said something that made sense to them. He said something nobody else was saying that represented how they feel, so now they're invested in him. So now when he goes off the deep end and says some crazy shit, they can't say, okay, I agree with him here, but that's crazy shit. They kind of go off the deep end with him. And I think it's the same thing with Elon Musk. The thing with Florida, again, if Florida had 200,000 COVID deaths and New York State had 5, then I would look at you and go, you know what? Even though I disagree on a philosophical level, you're fucking right. We should have went full dictator. Full dictator works. When you look at the number of people in Florida, and then you look at the size of the landmass, and then you look at the amount of people in New York State, and then you look at the size of the landmass, and then you take the number of deaths, you divide it by the number of people in the state, and you multiply that by 100, you will get the percentage of people that died in each state of COVID. And when you do that, you will see that Florida has less deaths per capita and less deaths. And when you consider, I haven't arranged that because they only want to do it in person, and I don't have it in me to fucking drive 600 miles down there just for that purpose. The thing is, when you look at the difference in approaches, when you look at virtually everything open, and here people fucking building sheds outside just to be able to serve people, when you look at how different the approaches were, and you look at the numbers being what they are, Florida should be the state that, if everything that you're reading, I can't believe you find it, that you would bring up Florida in spite of how bad it is, they should have 200,000 deaths and New York should have 5. That's not the fucking case. That's not even remotely the case. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. Just go look up the number of people in Florida. How many died? Do the math. Look up the number again. Use the New York Times' numbers. I don't care. Use Wikipedia, use Google's number, use whatever you want. And then look up the amount of people in New York State and the amount of COVID deaths. What's your opinion on the Freedom Phone? I have not personally heard good things about it. I have not heard anything about it. I have heard about the Fair Phone, but it only works in another country. I haven't heard about the Freedom Phone, though. Shout out from the opera singing dog and a fellow audio engineering nerd down in West Palm. It was cool to see you enjoying yourself when you visited Florida. I enjoyed enjoying myself when I visited Florida. I didn't check out West Palm Beach. I did check out Fort Lauderdale, though, which is right below it. Why do you think the realtors are behaving the way they are? Corrupt commercial mortgage-backed securities market. Combined with most likely embezzling or something. Or like foreign money being laundered through real estate. Thank you, Andrew Johnson. Final Fantasy X sucked maybe because I played it on a Switch. That's not a game for a Switch. How do you get started in your business? I have a 1-hour video on how I got started in this particular business. It isn't courage that caused me to open my shop. It was necessity. I don't have a lot of courage. I wouldn't use courage as the word to describe me. Staten Island is Trump country, never got us in war. He always said he was going to be leaving the Middle East, and what he kind of wound up doing was juggling around troop numbers. I forget the name of the person that had an interview with him, I think like 10 or 13 months ago. I forget the name of the guy. But he tried to nail him down on when we're getting out, and he really kind of evaded it. Stop that, Clinton. Do not break this mic cable. Husky by the Geek just got 800 subs. He deserves way more than that, man. He deserves more than me. When I look at his channel, I look at mine, and I have more subscribers than him. Life is not fucking fair. It really isn't. He puts out so much cooler shit into the world than I do. You have any ideas to why you have a low view count as a proportion to your subscriber count? I have no idea. I don't know why anybody watches this shit to begin with, honestly. I don't know what Tom Woods is. Let me Google that. Can I Google this? Is it going to be bad if I Google this? Am I going to regret this? American author and libertarian commentator who is currently a senior fellow at the Mises Institute. Woods is a proponent of the Austrian School of Economics. I don't know. From the very short description, I imagine I may enjoy his work, but I'd have to actually look at it or read it. I don't really know who he is. It's idiotic people lump anyone into one whole group simply because that person shares an opinion with said group. Is our society doomed forever? I think it's only doomed if we don't figure out a way to get rid of toxic partisanship. Do you only reply to paid chats? Incorrect. Many of the ones that I've read here are freebies. It's just I'm behind by about 15 to 20 minutes on them, so I miss a lot. Yeah, right now it's 119. And I'm still looking at stuff from 112 because I am behind because of the number of them that there are. Are you having any more issues with the city, or did it get sorted out? That stuff got sorted out, but it's not real sorted out. It's like it's sorted out in terms of, okay, if you're not going to tell me how to obey the laws for the secondhand dealer license, I'll just let it expire. And I did. My secondhand dealer license expired on July 31st, and I tore it down. That's not really a solution. That's just the middle finger, and that's not a solution because I can't sell machines now. But that was really a very small amount of my business to begin with. Lewis needs an autograph photo of Tori Amos for sure. Oh, that would be so amazing. Subject title, I spelled it right. Can you read this on live? It's not very long, I promise. Oh, come on. I told you to email it because I don't have time to read something really long on live stream. Are you serious? Okay, I spelled it as YouTube-E in the super chat because YouTube won't let us mention certain words on YouTube, I think. Anyway, I hope I passed the test. How we can Further discuss how we can use you to help me open more 911 gadgets across the world and benefits for you helping. I will respond to your email once I'm done with this. Okay, so that was a short email, so that was different. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Sitting in the surf listening to invisible waves crash under the cover of a meteor show. Nature has a way of reminding us to be humble. Beatles, let it be. It does. Shout out from the opera singing dog and fellow audio engineering nerd. I saw that one. Freedom Phone is a scam, says Eric. I mean, I haven't really looked into it, so I don't know. Favorite 3 RPGs. Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VIII. The Army are my favorite lieutenant from the Army. I love how you present right to repair as a nonpartisan issue. Thank you so much. I try. Someone said that Sam Cedar tried to suck me into saying that one side was against it more. And one side really isn't against it more. I just didn't have the names at the time, and I want to be able to come back with names. So, for instance, in the 2017 Nebraska hearing, Bob Christ was a Republican who was supposed to meet with us, and he changed his mind last minute, and he also just so happened to take over $3,000 from the lobbyist from AT&T, who was Mueller Roback, Kim Roback, who used to be the ex-lieutenant governor of the state. And that Republican did not listen to us and just laughed us out on the bill. At the same time, Ernie Chambers ended the hearing. He is a Democrat, and he also literally laughed us out of the room on the bill. Lydia Brash, who was a Republican, said yes, and she actually was a co-sponsor on the bill. Trump should have won last year if it wasn't for the BS liberal media saying he tried to stage a coup and called... Oh, come on, man. Come on. That's a lot of copium. He really didn't have to do a lot last year. Like, don't talk about, like, injecting bleach on the news. When Alex Azar, who is a Republican, says, listen, we could really use $2 billion to deal with this COVID shit in the beginning, don't give him $500 million when he asked for $2 billion, causing you to then have to print up $5 fucking trillion to deal with it. Like, this, there's these small things he could have done, these small things to win. But he cost himself his own election. He knows exactly what he did to cost himself his election because he has no self-control. Your life advice and business videos helped me through a lot, and now I earn a lot more than I could have where I live. Thank you. Thank you, Apierzy. I appreciate that. That means I actually did something decent. I forget what I was just talking about here. Right before that, I was on a roll with something, and I forgot what it was. I still don't get U2BE. I don't understand the U2BE thing, but... Do you have any training docs from other board repair? I have a 150-page one in every single board repair video. So when you look at my board repair videos, you will see in all the board repair videos that I've done, it says Learn Board Repair, Beginner's Guide, and it is about 150 pages, and it is free. Vanilla, you live in your own world. You do you. Stay in the echo chamber, my friend. Stay in the echo chamber. Ketchup on BEC, or is it disrespectful? What's BEC? Juice or coffee? Oh, I hate coffee. I don't like caffeine. It causes me anxiety. I like juice. Not juices and steroids. I mean juice like apple juice. Well, not apple juice. Fuck apple juice. Orange juice. Tom Woods is a site with unlabeled charts from different states where you have to guess which one used mass lockdown, similar to what you're saying. Okay, that I'm going to look up. That sounds like fun. I'm going to check that out later. Tom Woods site guess. Oh, come on. Don't you think that Florida is reporting a lower death rate because they are lying and suppressing everything? You mean like our governor was making up shit about nursing homes for a year? You mean like that? Is that what you mean? You mean like how our governor was covering up sexually assaulting people? Like that? That governor? Really? 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 With the amount of restrictions that we had in New York versus the amount of restrictions in Florida, he would have to be lying by a factor of 3 to 5 for it to make sense. Have a great night. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, Micro Border Bear. What audio cables come with a cotton string inside of them? I have no idea. Do any of the basic principles that you teach about MacBook board repair apply to PC? Do you have any experience fixing PCs? I don't do PC, laptop, and board repair. Like some of the principles are the same thing, but a lot of the general tips on like here's how this circuit works, here's how that circuit works, a lot of it winds up being Mac specific. But you should check out that sheet. That sheet is free. You really don't have anything to lose. 150 pages and it's free. Some of it may apply to you, some of it may not, but it is free. Just go to any one of my board repair videos, go in the description, and click Beginner's Guide. Just received all the stuff for me to properly work on Macs now to get to broken Macs. Indeed, there's a lot of broken Macs out there. Was this whole thing going on the 16th for a vaccine passport? Can you explain? TLDR, if you're a bar, a gym, or a restaurant, for people to be indoors, you're going to have to check their vaccine passport. You as in the minimum wage person working for that bar, restaurant, or gym. That's going to be great. That's going to be great fun. It depends on the red state or the blue state. So if you live in a red state where there's virtually no population density and you say, look, we did better, that's kind of being disingenuous. But if you live in a state that does have similar population density and you did better, then you can say something. Like when I hear Christy Noem say in South Dakota, like, look at how our death rate is versus, I don't know, New York. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. New York City is this big and it has 8 million people. South Dakota is this big and it has 800,000 people. They have 10% of the population in a space that's like 50 billion gazillion times as big. It's not really a fair comparison, but it depends on the comparison that you're making. Would you ever run for president? Fuck no. I don't want to touch politics. When you have authority over people, it incentivizes people to discredit you and look for reasons to hate you and call it and paint you as a horrible person to discredit you so that you don't have authority over them anymore. And the way that I would solve that problem is by just not having authority over people. Once you have authority over people, there's a lot of incentive structures in place to remove your authority and power over them by painting them as bad human beings. I don't need anybody painting me as a worse human being than I already am. I didn't miss your super chat. I responded to it within seconds. I said that that they do that in person, and I don't have the time to go down there in person. So if they are going to be able to do something, let's say over webcam, maybe I'll be able to do it. But if it's going to be something where like he wants to talk about right to repair and I actually have to visit in person, that's just not something I can see myself making the time for. Uses Google for research, such a clown. I think Google is a fairly good place to start researching an issue. If you call people a clown for that, you probably need to look in the mirror there, my friend. That is something that requires looking in the mirror, Ken. You can't say that if somebody's really, you're saying if somebody's Googling something that makes them stupid? Like, is that the road that you're going down? Come on, man. Hello, Leroy Shredding. What do you think about Framework's laptop? Do you find a decent approach to right to repair? It is. Make schematics available, make parts available. That's awesome. I really hope that they're able to get the economies of scales up to be able to offer them more affordably. You're talking about Trump costing himself the election. Yes. I believe he genuinely caused his own downfall. There are like basic things he could have done last year, regardless of all the stupid shit, and actually been able to win. But he couldn't. He always had to have the last word. He couldn't censor himself for like 8 seconds. He couldn't just ask, before I tweet this, before I say this, let me think. Is that the best way to say it? No, it was like no filter all the time. Sometimes a little bit of a filter would have done him very well. Sometimes listening to people around him that may have known more than him maybe would have done him a little well. Will we ever stop hating each other in this country? That's how they control us. We should be fighting back against the rich and the government. I think so, but I think it's going to take a lot of time. It's kind of like a lithium battery fire. You can't put it out with a fire extinguisher. You have to wait for it to extinguish itself. And I think that us hating each other because we are on different sides of the ideological spectrum, that is something that's going to have to burn itself out. It's not something that you could just take a hose or a fire extinguisher and go, tss. It's not like that. And it's sad, but I think that's the way it is. This is something that's going to have to burn itself out, and it's going to take a lot of time to do it. The way I see it, New York was ground zero in the U.S. for COVID and was left alone to run amok for too long before they did something that no other state gets to make that comparison. I disagree with you. I mean, the idea that they were left alone to run amok for too long, I mean, they did... A lot of what happened in the beginning here was self-inflicted. We had the USS Comfort. We had the Javits Center that could have been made into a temporary facility for old people that didn't have to go back into nursing homes. And that just did not get used in the way it should have. I had no idea. What do you do? Why is the USS Comfort sailing away when you have as many cases and deaths as you have? And it didn't make any sense to me. Let's see. Repairing things instead of tossing them out helps our planet. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, Tom. How's New York City reacting to Delta lately? It just been out, no one was out. I mean, people are out like crazy. This last 2 or 4 weeks has had more people out than I remember seeing since 2019, honestly. Are you going to do more 360 bike videos? They take 2 weeks for YouTube to process, so by the time it comes out, the content is already old. You should check out Peter Zihani as a geopolitical strategist. He has an interesting theory that the world is going to go into the shitter as a huge portion of countries are aging into mass retirement. Do you think that's true, though? Do you think that's true? I think there's a cottage industry in telling you that the world is worse than it is. I think there is. Like, you can see that if you just, like, I don't know. Let's say you look at, like, Timcast livestream, right? Or not the livestream, like the Timcast videos, not Timcast IRL. Can you... How to put this? Is there not a cottage industry in making people think the world is closer to the brink of extinction than it actually is? Because I think it is. I really do think it is. Like, you turn on CNN and or MSNBC and it's like, don't go outside, COVID. You turn on Fox and it's like, don't go outside, you're going to be stabbed. It's like, this is cottage industry and getting you to believe that, like, you just don't go outside. The world is horrible. The world is irredeemably horrible. Update on Florida move. I enjoyed those videos. I'm not moving just yet. Like, that was me searching for new places. But in order to move, you need to decide on a place. And I have not decided on a place yet. Do you know Republican Matt Gaetz? Barely. I've heard of him, but I don't know much about him. He's guilty and received 6 charges of sex trafficking a minor. Yeah, he sounds like he fucked. Sounds like he fucked up. Yeah, I want to check. I still want to check out Tennessee and Texas. And some other areas. My dumb cat is What's that? I'm taking her to the vet, but what's a good memory between now and the appointment? I don't know what that is, and I'm not a vet. Also, your username makes me believe that I shouldn't read that word. Yeah, I'm not going to read that word out loud because I'm going to realize how it's pronounced. It means something else after I pronounce it. I could read usernames. You have to use per capita for that. That was done. In the prior calculation that I told you, I showed you how to do per capita. What happened to the flu that was killing thousands of people per year? Did the China virus eat it? Well, there are people that say that those deaths are not COVID deaths, they're all flu deaths that they're underreporting. Okay, let's say I give you that and you're correct. The flu killed what, like 15,000 people a year? Okay, so if you have 300,000 or 400,000 die of COVID, the flu is like, that's virtually none. Let's say that they were scamming. Let's say I give you 100% that they were scamming and they were claiming that these were actually COVID deaths when they were flu deaths. So that brings you from what, like 300K to 285K? I mean, it doesn't explain it. It's a bad conspiracy theory because the numbers don't add up. Bill Gates, Epstein, your thoughts on them? I do wonder if the reason that Melinda Gates is not sticking around for the whole my husband is one of the richest men in the world and we're raising kids together is because she found out something about them and Epstein. There's really no way for me to take. There's really no way for me to know. What's your take on the crypto amendments bill? I haven't read it, so I don't know. What I can say is that a cryptocurrency thing holding up a roads and infrastructure thing is just one of the beauties of American government. It's very difficult to get anything through. South Dakota has cities also. Cities. Okay. Look at how New York City stacks people, and then look at how South Dakota stacks people. Does South Dakota have cities? Of course it does. New York City has 8.5 million people. South Dakota has about like 800 to 900,000. So New York City in this space has 10 times as many people as South Dakota has in this space. So even if you do have a city, it's nowhere near what we have here. So it's just, I'm not listening to that. I can't even have that as a comparison. I have a problem collecting the flagship smartphone from 2013. Present people asked me to get help. They probably should. Yeah, that's kind of weird. At least with Florida, you can kind of point to areas where you can point to the size of the state, the size of some of the cities in that state, and the size of the number and the population, and say, okay, there's something similar there. But South Dakota and New York, just no, I can't. Like when Christy Nome says, look at our results versus New York's, it's like, fuck off. Again, philosophically, I'm with her. I'm not for lockdowns, but I just, to pretend that population density isn't a thing is just no. Monopoly Rossmann Repair Edition, I think will be educational for children. I don't know how that would work. Ken, you gotta, okay, I'm timing you out because you're saying you're on a bunch of trolley ass bullshit. When I read that somebody's stupid for using Google, that was it. Not sure if you know him, but would you come on Nick Rakita's live stream lost planning sometime? Sure. Email me at contact@fighttorepair.org about it, and if you email both of us, I will try to set it up. You have AC, you look sweaty. I do, I just didn't turn it on because sometimes it makes the microphone buzz. Because I have a bullshit setup here to get my AC turned on in my apartment. Thank you for your honesty and individual respect you strive to maintain with us anonymous metrics. You're fulfilling a public service during this uncertain era dominated by propagandists and hysterical grifters. Never assume that I'm not one of them. Because one of the things is some people know they're grifting, but other people may not know it. They may actually wind up believing their own bullshit. And it's very possible that I believe my own bullshit and then I'm repeating it to you. That's why I tell you, just never trust it. Don't have a trust or idolization for anybody that you meet on the internet. And I'm included in that. I guess Double Vision forgot about Trump banning international travel from affected companies while the media and Cuomo called the ban xenophobic. It wasn't that. It's like the whole point of those ban. Okay, first, like this super chat is so salty. And you have to know as you were typing that how passive-aggressive and salty you sound. Like, you know how passive-aggressive and salty this shit sounds. But secondly, the whole point of having that travel ban was, okay, we're going to ban travel from other countries so that we can figure out what to do. We need time to come up with a plan. And what happened during the time of that travel ban? What plan did we come up with? None. You had Alex Azar, who, by the way, again, is a Republican. This isn't even partisan. Come to Trump and say, we need $2 billion for this. Here's what we need. Here's why we need it. And they cut that package down from $2 billion to $500 million. Now, that savings of $1.5 billion could very well be the reason that we are spending trillions upon trillions upon trillions just a few months later. Okay, so you had a lot, fine, whatever. Yeah, you had your immigration ban for that time period. You had the flight ban. What did you do with that time? What do you think about Linus wanting to invest in a computer company framework that believes when you buy a laptop that's fully modular, it allows you to upgrade it and repair it as needed? Companies like Framework need all the money they can get, and if Linus has got the money to throw down on that I don't, then I respect him putting his money where his mouth is. I think that's really cool, and I hope he does it. And I hope that it means better computers at lower prices that are more repairable for everybody. Peter Zihan is actually really positive when it comes to the U.S. and some other countries, and isn't just doom and gloom in his analysis. It's very depth. Very depth. You know what? Okay, you sold me. I'll read his stuff. I'm going to write that down over here. Peter Zihan, read up. I'm actually making a stream to-do list now. Louis Rossmann for Congress. No, I don't want to run for office. Stop doing that to me. Why does my stream chat hate me? I don't understand why you people all hate me. I live upstate. I'm concerned over a second lockdown. Any thought on that? What it would mean for your business? That would not be the best thing for my business. It's really just kicking the can down the road. Because once it really hits people, I think it's kind of like stages of grief. If someone dies, let's say, you know, your dad has a heart attack and he dies in front of you, and then 10 minutes later the ambulance is taking him away. It may not hit you there, but it's going to hit you eventually, like 2 or 4 or 8 months down the line. You're just going to be about to go to sleep, and you're going to remember some one event that you claimed that you know, one thing you said you guys were going to do, and then you're just going to start crying your eyeballs out. And I think once people that have had their businesses or their livelihoods destroyed, like once they finally process just how fucked they are, and just how I think that once that happens, you're going to start to see things break down in a way that are really not good for society. And I think that can is being just kicked down the road more and more. But you're going to have to deal with it. My cat is watching Mr. Clinton wanted me to ask, when do cats get their masks? Okay, now you're just being silly. My cat is not wearing a mask. My cat is a clean kitty. My cat is double vaxxed. Bill hung on with Epstein after his 18 conviction. Well, I guess you'll get to figure out how. I guess at that point you get to figure out how 60 or 80 or 120 billion dollars defends you against these accusations. He has enough money to buy a lot of good PR. Sometimes you wonder, you know, I mean, he's putting a lot of money into this charity. He's putting a lot of money into this foundation. Is it because he's trying to make up for something, or, you know, kind of compensate for guilt on the inside in some way, or make up for it? Trump said he didn't want a second term. I don't remember that. I remember him saying that if he did not win, if he lost to Joe Biden of all people, that he would never forgive everybody that made it happen, and he would never be able to live with himself. He said it jokingly, but I do believe he was serious. 2005 Nehalem chip 10 gigahertz never came to fruition. Moore's law defeated for greed, yay or nay? I think that Intel was going in the wrong direction. I think that the Pentium 4 was the wrong direction from 2000, 2001 in terms of architecture. If they had just, it was a step down from the Pentium 3. A 1.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 was kind of slower than a 1 gigahertz or 1.2 gigahertz Pentium 3. It really was kind of sad. Top 10 in poverty, gun deaths, worst education per capita is all red states. You definitely do have red states that have their fair share of problems. Red states are not universally superior to blue states. Blue states are easier to make fun of because a lot of the cultural centers are here. A lot of the celebrities are here. Like, again, you don't have, like, there is no Casey Neistat for Custer, South Dakota, or Brookfield, Wisconsin. There's a Casey Neistat for Manhattan, but there's no Casey Neistat for Brookfield, Wisconsin, or Custer, South Dakota. So there's more to see, so it's easier to make fun of it. But you are correct in some ways. Politics are a salty game, you're right. Everybody blames you for each other's problems. Sadly. In the UK, 40% of people in hospital with COVID have been double vaccinated. Send me a citation, Louis@RossmannGroup.com. I would be interested in reading that. Native New Yorker here. Glad you're still making the bike videos. I know you hate New York City, but the videos are great for homesickness. I don't hate it. I dislike aspects of it. I try not to hate, because hate is... Nobody takes responsibility for their actions, not like a class of kindergartners. Politics is a salty game. I agree. I try to avoid hate because hate is active, and hate is something that consumes you, whereas dislike is just your natural reaction to something. Sir Dirty has went off the deep end. Absolutely off the deep end. What are your thoughts on video games and digital storefronts in terms of ownership? I don't have any thoughts on that. Is your cat jelly? Chill. Huh? My cat is Blackberry, Mr. Clinton, and Oreo. I don't understand what that means. So many of you, why can't you guys use words and acronyms that just make sense to someone who only has a high school education? You gotta make it complicated. What year MacBooks do you need a C9560 replacement? 2010, only the 15-inch, so the 820-2850 board, not the 820-2849 board. Only the 820-2850. Wow, you have 1,555 people watching. That's not even remotely impressive. In summer of 2016, I had 100,000 subscribers, and I would get 600 live stream viewers if I did a video. Here, I have 15 times the subscribers, but 3 times the live viewers. So it's very strange how that works. Any specifics on what will happen post-COVID? I think that people are going to end up... I think that there are going to be more separation alongside philosophical lines. There's lots of people who are not willing to move or just because their neighbors are blue or they're red. But if you believe that your neighbors actually want to kill people, to kill grandma, you will probably not want to be around them. Conversely, if your neighbors are saying you need to not go to work, you need to go bankrupt, you need to stay in your house, and if you don't want to, we will use the government to force you, those people are probably going to want to move somewhere else that reflects their values. I think that COVID is going to cause people to segregate based on values to some extent. Have you read the recent report on the lab leak by the House Foreign Affairs Committee? It was covered by Sagar on Breaking Points. I have not read about that, to be honest with you. And I honestly don't necessarily care about where it started at this point. I really just care about fucking dealing with it. To be honest, I started watching you after seeing your collaboration with Linus with the ball pens. You guys totally should do another collaboration, like building an off repair. I'm not really good with collaborations because you have to script it, and most of my content is just random shit rather than something that's scripted. I fear that if I start scripting things for collaborations, that it will lose what makes this channel, and it will be disingenuous. But I will try to come up with it because a lot of people want to see that stuff. I do believe that COVID is going to cause people to separate more based on their values. Because I needed to pay $420 for a new Mac Air screen. If you have one of the newer ones, no. Those screens are expensive. They're a royal pain in the ass to replace, and that honestly is a sensible price for it. It may not seem like a sensible price, and if we were in the day where screens cost $70 and you just screwed them in with 5 screws, then it would not be a sensible price. But in the time of these days where the $150, $250, $350 for a screen, and you have to have it in with adhesive and taking it off is miserable, that is a totally fair price to pay for one of the modern MacBook Airs with USB-C ports. I really do believe that you're gonna, again, if you believe that your neighbor actually wants to see people die, you're probably not going to want to live in a neighborhood where those are the values. But conversely, if you believe that your neighbor wants you to be locked in your home and thinks that the governor should be able to mandate that you not be able to go to work and and not give you a timeline as to when that is going to end, you probably will not want to live near those people either. There are a lot of issues where people can politically disagree but coexist, and COVID is one of those areas where I really think it does stress the bonds that tie us together. That it stresses the bonds that tie that bring us together, and makes them more likely to break. Thoughts on Mike Lindell and John McAfee? 37 terabyte USA corruption drop on August. I don't. Mike Lindell seems out of his fucking mind to me. John McAfee also seemed out of his mind to me, and I don't particularly follow them because they both seem to be crazy-ass people. John McAfee, at the very least, or McAfee, I don't know how you pronounce it, at the very least, can from time to time be entertaining. Mike Lindell is not even entertaining. If you all did a live stream, it might be okay with you that in that format and be random. Also, add your expertise with solder. Yeah, a lot of people said the original Linus video that I did with him was really awkward. And I'll be honest, it kind of was. Like, in my style of doing a video is, hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to fix a MacBook. Yeah, let's switch the camera over. There's no editing. There's no editing in any of that stuff. Or even this. Linus's style is, okay, so today we're going to do this. Cut. Okay, walk over here, do this. Okay, get the camera over here. Okay, now we're going to do this. Cut. It's very... I feel like a fly on the wall that's watching something that I shouldn't be watching. It's a different style, and it works for him. It works way better for him than my shit style works for me. But it's a style that doesn't lend itself to being easy to transition into if you're if you're me. Do you think Apple is trying to use personal photos to target advertisements? No, I don't think that's their shtick at all. I think they're between a rock and a hard place. They need to figure out how to pacify everybody on this in the government on this trial on the CP stuff, but they simultaneously don't want to give up on privacy. So they're coming up with these convoluted solutions and saying, "No, we're doing this for your benefit," and that's not going over as well as they thought. Also, guess what they are cutting funding for? Future pandemic planning. We already did that. October 2019. Oh, this is the biggest hysterical one. You want? Oh, this is so fucking sad. So we actually had, and this cost, I did the math on this. This cost 16 cents per U.S. taxpayer per year. So this was U.S. Aid Predict 2019. Oh, man, this is so sad. This is so fucking sad. Oh, my God, just reading this makes me sick. We would have been over there and been in all these labs and been working on a vaccine for all this shit and a cure for this and figured out how to handle it. This ended in October of 2019. Again, as someone who thinks that there's a lot of waste in government, there's a lot of waste in government. This program at 16 cents per taxpayer per year, and you got rid of it a month before COVID got unleashed. Wow. That's funny. I bet you guys sold GameStop at $5 a year and a half ago, too. Oh, man. They sold GameStop when it was like here, right before it did that. That's the stock market equivalent of selling GameStop at $4. Oh, Jesus. Never been to Arkansas for the person who asked. Since you said check Peter Z in third Discord message, same username, you a link to a RIP presentation of his on YouTube. Oh, cool. Don't run for office, it sounds miserable. It does. I would never want to subject myself to that. Your stream does not hate you. They just think you would have done a better job than politicians pretending to do something. What's your thoughts on Steam Deck? I don't care about Steam Deck. I'd really rather have some sort of damage control than a president thumbing up his nose at the virus and letting it go on a rampage leading to current events. Yeah, again, like when they say that, you know, the Trump lost because of fraud last year. No, it's because he didn't even have to care. All he had to do was pretend he cared. All he had to do was, like, he couldn't even pretend. And it wouldn't have been that much effort. Okay. If you were a pharmaceutical drug, what would you be called and what would you treat? If I was a pharmaceutical drug, I would probably be tetrabenazine. Hey, it's me. I'm starting to dislike you, but still respect you. No, you need to do both. Dislike and disrespect. I don't know what happened with the audio. I think this audio interface may finally be shooting the bed. I already replaced this mic cable recently. This has Neutrik gold connectors and Mogami wiring. Nothing but the best. So it's either the microphone or the interface then. I started with the cable because I was hoping it would be the cable. It's intermittent. I get why you wouldn't want to be a politician. Sadly, you make a great one. Oh, I would not get elected. You don't understand what it takes in 2021. You need to have a list of belief systems. Like, let's say, you know, D or R, and you have your little 31 issues, and you got to check every single one on the box. And that's not what I would do. I'll take a little bit of this here and that there, and this here and that there, and that's not going to get you elected. That's not going to get you elected. I sent the Veritasium video to your contact page on your company website. Oh, that goes to customer service. I'm probably not going to see that. Louis@RossmannGroup.com is my email. The other one is just going to wind up going to Kevin, who's probably going to say, this is not a broken MacBook, and delete. Debaser, I don't think he cared with all the rallies he did. I think he cared more about being about saying things that he likes saying than he did about winning. Because that's the thing. You have to get all these people to vote for you. And he focused on, okay, he's got this group of people. I want to make this group of people be 10 out of 10 excited instead of 7 out of 10 excited. When in reality, he didn't need to make this set of people more excited. He needed to get this many people to vote for him. Who cares about doing rallies? That means that you care about performing. He cared about performing for the rally more than he did about winning an election. That's the only interpretation I get for the way that he acted and the way that he dealt with issues, when he could have just adjusted himself in the smallest of ways and gotten far more widespread appeal. He couldn't help himself, and he lost. He did it to himself. He made his own choices. He knew what he was doing, and that's the result. I got a 2015 MacBook Pro from work, thrift store. Is the coating Apple uses cheap? Or does it just behave that way with cleaning products? I don't know if it's cheap. I know it's bad. What you want to do is you want to use something called Uvex. Don't use Windex. Don't use alcohol. Use Uvex. It's a Honeywell cleaning solution that's designed for lenses and eyeglasses. And also for camera lenses. It's very, very delicate, and it's not going to screw up your screen nearly as badly as the rest of the stuff will. And this is where I made everybody deaf. You didn't answer a guy's question. Is 420 fair for a Mac Air screen? Yes, I actually did. I answered it literally as it showed up on my screen. You guys got to stop doing that when you say I didn't answer something, because I know that's the second time that happened. And I answered it literally as it showed up. Rewind and take a look. It's right there. Nice ASMR post. LR post mic fix. New channel idea ASLR. What I said, when you can rewind it, is A, 420 is fair if it's a newer one. B, those screens are not screwed in anymore. They are adhesed in, and they're also very expensive. And they're very difficult to replace. So 420 is, again, it sucks, but it's not horrible in contrast to what it used to be. And it sucks, but it's going to suck almost anywhere you go with that model computer. Okay. Mike deafening everybody. I deafened everybody. Okay. Sounds like you're on a bike now. Yeah, it's either the interface or the mic. And now I know it's not the cable. This is Mogami. Mogami wire gold Neutra connector. This is mwah. Means I got to try a different mic and a different interface. It's intermittent. That's the thing that makes it hard to solve, because it only happens sometimes. So I can't tell which it is because it doesn't happen all the time. And when you have an intermittent issue, the only real way to fix it is to replace everything. What caused that exactly? I have no idea. What do you think you're talking to, a repairman? You destroyed my subwoofer. Why do you have a subwoofer on? You're listening to a guy talk in his chair. Also, that's bull, because I actually have... Yeah, let me see. I actually run this through a VST plugin, and I have an equalizer that starts at 90 hertz, 24 decibels per octave, that is cutting off all the low end. So there's no low end in here. There's nothing to go to your subwoofer unless your crossover is set fucked up. Leroy says, what happened to the flu that was killing thousands of people every year? Did the China virus eat it? I already answered that conspiracy, and yet if you rewind about 5 or 10 minutes, now you're copying and pasting it. Come on. Don't copy and paste, especially after I already answered a question. That's not very nice. Let's see. I like Army. Play some Skinnerd. One of your mods blocked my original channel from commenting on your live streams. I don't get it. I've always been respectful because I... Oh, so this is the best part about YouTube. I'm going to do a video on this at some point. When I go to the settings, I can't even see my entire ban list. it only shows me the first page. So if I actually want to, you can't type why you banned someone and have that be tracked along with the individual. But B, I actually can't see my ban list. I can't see my own ban list. It's hysterical. And the best one is in the de Blasio video that I did. So I pinned a comment and I responded to it. And then the next morning when I woke up, I looked at the comment that I pinned and my reply to it was gone. I know that I did not delete my own comment. So when it comes to the YouTube comment section, they have no sense of how to run. Google has no concept of how to do social media. They know how to host. They know how to host something, but they don't know how to run a social media website, and they don't know how to give you the tools necessary to be able to interface with people properly. How did you avoid all the political traps Sam Cedar tried to get you to say? There was only one question. It wasn't a trap. Again, you could think it's naive, but he said, okay, so which group seems to be listening to more of the lobby? He said, what percentage appear to be percentage of people that listen to lobbyist money versus listen to people? That's a fair fucking question. That's not a trap. That's a fair question. I mean, there's not really a lot of political traps in that video. YouTube Shorts have been appearing in my feed. They're great. Good to get the message right to repair out. I hate that vertical video works in the algorithm. What have I done? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Aw, Oreo is in JP's cat bed. JP is a kind person. He got Oreo a cat bed. He sleeps in it. We can hear your hair growing. Oh? I am behind by 4 minutes. Damon, you cannot spell the word needs with an apostrophe. Needs does not have an apostrophe. That's scary. The whatever show, Staten Island was going to crap long before. No, that's been happening for a long time. Will your shop have 2-story outdoor seating? Depends. Depends on where we open. I have visited upstate New York. I visited Jessa several times, and I used to teach with her. When you relocate, are you going to join Eli or move to someplace sensible like Texas? Texas's property taxes are actually even higher than where Eli lives. I don't think I could move someplace with 2% property tax. But I wouldn't move where Eli is either. He lives on top of a mountain. What happened to buying a house? Well, first you need to know where that house would be. So much salt against Sam Cedar. So much salt against Sam Cedar. I feel bad for Sam Cedar here. Is it hard to get a PC motherboard schematic? It depends on the PC that you're looking at. It also depends on how new the PC is. The newer it is, the harder it will be. It also depends on how many machines it goes into. What can we do to get right to repair movements locally? I wonder something like volunteer at the library and show people what can be done to fix the broken systems. That's not a question. That should be an exclamation point. So the way you get that right to repair movement started locally is you take that sentence right after the question and you take the question mark off the end and you put an exclamation point. The difference between the question mark and the exclamation point is the exclamation point is you going down to the library and asking, what do I need to do to start advertising this workshop? Whereas the question mark is vague doubt. You get started by starting. And you see where it goes. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a total waste of your time. You keep tweaking it until you figure out what works and go from there. I did a wiki, nobody gave a shit. I did a class in person, the workshop in person, tons of people cared. So now I'm putting more of my effort into the workshops in person than I am into the wiki because that worked. But you get started by starting. And you do by starting. You start by doing. Staten Island is literally a dump. There used to be a dump next to the mall, and it smelled so bad. It was actually visible from space. I'm 2 minutes behind. You mentioned you'd like to see people show up to these hearings. Do we need to be as knowledgeable in right to repair as you, or support enough? You just got to explain why it means something to you. You just got to explain why it matters to you. You don't have to have the answer to every single question, and they don't expect you to. Please don't whisper into the mic. It is just too weird for my ear. Hey. It's me. Hey. It's me. Stupid fly. I just paid off my house 2 months ago. Man, what a relief. That must be a really good feeling. Congratulations to you for paying off one of the largest pieces of debt most people have during their lifetime. That must have been a lot of hard work. It probably meant being responsible while everybody else around you was spending on whatever the fuck the leases they wanted to spend on. And must be a good feeling. Anything in your plans to support Right to Repair internationally? I am focusing on my country. It's hard enough to get everything covered in my country. Please whisper into the mic. I love watching people think things are weird. Hey. It's me. Today we're going to talk about right to repair and COVID lockdowns. Is this weird? I opened a restaurant last year and survived. Holy crap. Any thoughts on how to cope if lockdowns come? I don't know if we can survive it. get everything done that you need to do to be able to do delivery via Grubhub and transition as quickly as and be able to transition over to it like that. I would not. Please do an ASMR MacBook repair video. Everybody will be turned on. It's something to consider. I thought you'd be campaigning against Apple spyware for the children. I think I did a video on that. Okay. It's time to get out of here. It's time to get out of here. Thank you for getting weird. How do we replace de Blasio and the Coleman brothers? Well, there's two solutions. The first solution involves getting people to run for the Republican and Libertarian Party candidates that are not memes. The second is you move somewhere else. Okay, I'm out of here. I will see you all later. Oh, I'm out of here. Clinton's gone. People, thank you. It was a good stream. One thing I just wanted to go over, again, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this video with Daniel Smullen, and if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more on how this whole Apple privacy thing works, please do listen. He also has a really good website that lists his publications and citations. He has contributed a lot to, and he is going to be contributing more. I hope for him to be able to help me with some of this Repair Wiki work that I'm working on. And yeah, there's some good publications on his site when it comes to privacy on the internet. Good stuff. Good stuff. Check him out here. Look at this guy. Can you believe this guy's in my shit-ass YouTube comment section? I met this guy in the YouTube comment section. Look at this. Look at this. PhD candidate, employment history. Look at this. NASA, researcher, engineer, systems administrator, graduate research assistant. Guy's a damn genius. This is not what you usually find in a YouTube comment section. So look at this. No, I'm not reading that. Proceedings on privacy enhancing technologies. Look at this. It's like, oh, I guess I can't show. Can I load that in the browser? Will you load in the browser? I hope you load in the browser. Come on. Damn it, I can't load anything in my browser because I can read scientific articles about imperfect vaccination and increase. I don't know what you mean. Increase, what does that mean? An increase. Increase in what? Increase in effects, increase in COVID, increase in crappy internet comments. Like, I'm too tired for these half sentences. You gotta give me the whole thing. Look at this. Look at this. There's citations. Daniel's he's got bar graphs. He's got scatter plots. He has tables. Look at this shit. This guy's in my YouTube comment section. That cesspool. It's amazing. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Increase COVID variation and spread. Email it to me. Louis@rossmanngroup.com. I'm out of here. It is 2:19 in the morning, so it is time to go. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I should do it this way. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Hey, it's me. Hey, I'm out of here. So, it's no longer me. Now, it's a blank screen. It's no longer me.